I'm known as Joe, and I'll be the narrator of this story. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe to help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. 200 engines shook the windows of the 2 a.m. diner. An army of bikers flooded the parking lot, surrounding a single police car. They weren't there for the cops. They were there for a rich lawyer who thought he could assault a 21-year-old waitress. Sarah is not merely a person. She is an archetype of forgotten America, a symbol of quiet endurance. At only 21, she carries the impossible weight of a life she did not choose. We see her as a portrait of exhausted kindness, a ghost navigating the graveyard shift at the Crossroads Diner. This lonely outpost of fluorescent light is perched precariously on the edge of a forgotten Ohio interstate, a beacon in the vast Rust Belt darkness. She works not one, but 2 jobs, sacrificing her sleep, her social life, and the very essence of her youth. She is desperately trying to pay for community college textbooks while simultaneously chipping away at the crushing mountain of medical debt left by her mother's illness. She is the quiet engine of a broken family, running on fumes and the weak, bitter coffee she serves. Her world is small, confined to the smell of old grease and the sound of the rain against the glass. Before we dive deeper into Sarah's story, I need to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city and your country in the comments right now. Let us see how far this story of the forgotten heartland travels. Sarah does not know the world is watching, but we do. She believes she is invisible. Her armor is a practiced, tired smile, a shield she uses against the casual cruelty of rude customers, and the weariness that settles deep in her bones. Her feet ache, a dull throb that matches the ache in her chest. She is surrounded by people passing through, yet she is profoundly alone. This is the 2 a.m. shift on a Tuesday. The rain does not just fall. It assaults the building, a cold, relentless drumming that mirrors the isolation inside. The diner itself is a microcosm of decay, a relic of a bygone era in rural Indiana. The air is thick with the scent of stale coffee and the metallic tang of the flat-top grill. Outside, the world is a blur of speeding headlights and oppressive darkness. The nearest police station is 30 minutes away, an eternity. When measured in fear, this isolation is not just geographic, it is social. Sarah is the only employee on duty. She is the captain of a sinking ship, and she is utterly alone. Her suffering is not loud. It is a quiet, grinding exhaustion. It is the exhaustion of balancing ledgers in her head, trying to decide if she can afford both her mother's prescription and her car's gasoline. It is the humiliation of smiling when a customer snaps his fingers at her, treating her as less than human. She represents the unseen, the people who keep the world turning while it slowly grinds them down. Her vulnerability is her greatest burden. She has no safety net, no rich uncle, no boyfriend to call. She has only her resilience, and tonight that resilience is being pushed to its absolute limit by the man in the corner booth. She maintains her goodness, but it is a struggle. She is the kind of person who still gives her meager tips to the homeless man who sometimes sleeps behind the diner. She is the one who covers shifts for her co-workers, knowing they are struggling just as much as she is. This purity is her defining trait. It is what makes her the perfect target for the darkness, but it is also what will ultimately become her salvation. She does not see the world in terms of predators and prey. She still believes, despite all evidence to the contrary, that people are fundamentally good. This belief is about to be tested in a way she could never imagine. The diner's fluorescent lights hum a mournful tune, buzzing above the worn linoleum floors. They cast a sickly, sterile glow that exposes every crack in the vinyl booths and every stain on the countertops. This light offers no warmth, only exposure. 2 truckers are fast asleep in their respective booths near the back, their snores adding a rhythmic bass note to the sound of the storm. They are dead to the world, oblivious to the quiet drama unfolding. Their presence offers the illusion of safety, but it is a hollow comfort. They are not protectors. They are just background scenery in Sarah's lonely stage. She knows, instinctively, that she cannot count on them. Her poverty is a cage. It dictates every choice she makes. It is why she cannot simply quit this job, why she cannot tell the rude customer what she really thinks. It is why she must endure the leering gaze of the man in the expensive suit. This job, this soul-crushing minimum wage purgatory, is the only thing standing between her mother's care and complete destitution. She is trapped by circumstance, a prisoner of economics. The oppression she faces is not just from one person, but from a system that demands she trade her dignity for survival. She is the definition of defenseless, a lamb tethered to a post. Her solitude is a physical presence in the diner. It sits across from her in the empty booths. It whispers to her from the kitchen's shadows. Every time the door chime rings, her heart leaps into her throat, a jolt of adrenaline that is part hope and part terror. Tonight, the terror is winning. The man in the suit, Richard, has been watching her for an hour. His eyes are not appreciative. They are possessive. He radiates an aura of privilege and arrogance that makes her skin crawl. He is everything she is not: wealthy, powerful, and utterly devoid of empathy. He sees her not as a person, but as an opportunity. She checks her cheap watch. 2 more hours until sunrise. 2 more hours of this quiet, simmering tension. She desperately wants to hide in the kitchen, to scrub pots until her shift ends, but her duties require her to be on the floor. She must refill coffee, wipe counters, and be available. She is exposed, forced to orbit the predator who has fixed his gaze upon her. The atmosphere is thick with unspoken threat, a heavy blanket of dread that suffocates the air. She is a non-player character in everyone else's story, but tonight, the spotlight has found her, and she has nowhere to hide. This is the setup. Perfect storm of vulnerability. A good person, pushed to the breaking point, isolated from the world by geography and circumstance. She is facing a force that sees her goodness as weakness, her poverty as an invitation. The world has left her completely undefended. The systems designed to protect people like her are miles away, fast asleep, or buried under paperwork. She has no one, that is, except for the other man in the diner, the one sitting in the darkest corner, the one who looks more dangerous than the storm itself, the one who has not said a word all night. In the farthest booth, cloaked in the shadows that the fluorescent lights cannot reach, sits the man the narrative has been waiting for. He is not just a customer. He is a presence. His name, stitched onto the leather vest he wears, is Grizz. The name is an understatement. He is a mountain of a man, well over 6 feet tall, with a breadth of shoulder that seems to block out the dim light behind him. His vest is a roadmap of his life, a patch from the veterans of foreign wars, the screaming eagle of the 101st Airborne, and the unmistakable, controversial diamond patch of a 1% motorcycle club. His arms are sleeved in tattoos, intricate stories of a life lived hard. He is the physical embodiment of social intimidation. He has been completely silent, a statue of leather and denim. His coffee cup is black, and he has nursed the same one for an hour, his gaze fixed on the rain-streaked window. World sees him and crosses the street. They see the tattoos, the vest, the sheer size of him, and they see a threat. They see a criminal, a brute, a problem. The sleeping truckers instinctively chose booths far away from him. Sarah, too, has felt the gravity of his presence, a silent, brooding energy that contrasts sharply with the slimy arrogance of the man in the suit. Grizz is the kind of man society has judged and dismissed, a monster they tell stories about. He is the hero Tomato, the feared hero. The villain Richard is the opposite. He is socially acceptable, wrapped in an expensive but now rumpled suit. He is a predator who hides in plain sight, a wolf who uses his status and wealth as camouflage. He has been harassing Sarah verbally for the last hour, a steady drip of insinuating comments and leering smiles that she has been forced to deflect with tense professionalism. He is a man who has never been told no by someone he perceives as beneath him. He thrives on this power imbalance. He sees Sarah not as a person, but as a distraction, a plaything for his late-night amusement. He assumes her uniform and her job title make her public property. The critical moment arrives not with a bang, but with a whisper. Sarah, her hands shaking from exhaustion and nerve, goes to the counter to pour herself a glass of water. She needs a moment to breathe, to steady herself. Her back is to the diner for only a second. As she turns, she catches a flash of movement. It is Richard, the man in the suit. He looks away too quickly, a predatory smirk playing on his lips. He believes he was unseen. But Sarah's eyes are drawn to her glass of water, which she had set on the counter. She sees it. A fine, white, powdery residue, not yet fully dissolved, swirling near the bottom. Her blood turns to ice. It is not a mistake. It is not paranoia. It is a fact. The air is punched from her lungs. This is the moment a nightmare becomes reality. She freezes, a statue of pure, unadulterated terror. The diner, the rain, the humming lights, it all fades into a roaring in her ears. She looks at the sleeping truckers, her heart pleading for them to wake up, but they are lost to the world. She looks at Richard Richard, who is now watching her openly, a sickening anticipation in his eyes. He is waiting for her to drink it. He is enjoying her fear. She is completely and totally cornered. Her mind races. The phone is on the wall, 10 feet away, but it feels like a mile. If she calls 911, what does she say? A man put something in my drink. He will deny it. He will say she is hysterical. It is her word, the word of a lowly, tired waitress, against his, the word of a wealthy, respectable businessman. She sees the entire scenario playing out. The skepticism of the police, the anger of her boss for accusing a good customer. She knows, with chilling certainty, that the system will fail her. She has no proof except for the glass in her hand, and he will just laugh it off. This is the precipice. This is the moment of total despair. And in this moment, her eyes drift to the last person in the diner, to the darkness in the corner, to Grizz. He is everything she has been taught to fear. The tattoos, the vest, the intimidating silence. He is the definition of stranger danger, but Richard is the definition of a clear and present threat. Her instincts scream. She is trapped between two kinds of monsters, one disguised as a gentleman, and one who wears his danger on his sleeve. She has to make a choice. Not a choice between good and evil, but a choice between the known predator and the unknown variable. This is the act of kindness, the incident that changes everything. But it is not a kindness from her to him. It is an act of pure, desperate, profound trust from her in him. Her hand, trembling so violently she can barely control it, reaches for her order pad. She fumbles for the small pencil tucked behind her ear. Her handwriting is a frantic scrawl, the letters jagged with adrenaline. She rips the small white sheet from the pad, crumpling it slightly in her fist. This is her only shot. This is the last arrow in her quiver. She is betting her life on a man who looks like he would just as soon batla. I am ready to write the next block. Note, the user's prompt had a typo batla. I'm ignoring it as requested and proceeding. With the small crumpled note hidden in her palm, she picks up the coffee pot. Her feet feel like lead. Every step toward the dark booth is a battle against her own fear. Richard watches her, his smile widening. He thinks she is coming to capitulate, to be polite, perhaps even to take a drink. He believes he has won. Sarah approaches Grizz's table, her heart hammering against her ribs so hard she is sure he can hear it. He does not look up. He continues to stare out the window, a silent sentinel. She extends a shaking hand to refill his mug, the hot, black coffee almost spilling over the rim. "More coffee, sir?" she whispers, her voice barely audible. He simply nods, a curt, almost imperceptible motion. As she pulls the pot back, she slides the crumpled napkin onto the table, pushing it just beneath the edge of his saucer. It is a desperate, clumsy, tiny movement. It is the single most important action of her life. She does not wait for a reaction. She cannot. She scurries back behind the perceived safety of the counter, her back pressed against the cold, stainless steel, her eyes wide with terror, watching. She has done it. She has passed the message. The die is cast. Grizz does not react for a full 10 seconds. The world hangs suspended. Sarah has stopped breathing. Richard is still watching, amused by her visible panic. Then, slowly, Grizz's gaze lowers from the window. He seems to notice the napkin, as if it is an anomaly, a disruption in his quiet world. His huge, calloused hand, scarred and tattooed, moves with surprising delicacy. He does not grab the note. He pulls his saucer back, revealing it. He picks it up, unfolds the small, damp piece of paper, and holds it in his massive palm. His eyes scan the words, his expression completely unreadable, carved from stone. The note is simple. It is a plea from the depths of her soul. "That man in the suit, he drugged my drink. It's on the counter. Please, I don't know what to do. I'm scared." It is a confession of her vulnerability, an admission of her complete powerlessness. It is a gamble of cosmic proportions. She has placed her faith not in the police, not in the sleeping truckers, but in the one man the rest of the world would consider the biggest threat in the room. She has trusted the monster to save her from the man, and in doing so, she has paid him the highest compliment he has ever received. The change is almost invisible, but to Sarah, it is monumental. The stillness in Grizz's posture does not break, but it sharpens. It is the difference between a sleeping lion and one that has just caught a scent. His eyes, which had been dull and distant, lift from the paper. They do not look at Sarah. They move with terrifying, deliberate slowness across the diner, past the sleeping truckers, and lock onto Richard. For the first time all night, Richard is no longer the predator. He is the prey. The air in the diner crackles. The temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. The hunter has just realized he's being hunted. Griz's eyes are not filled with rage. Not yet. They are filled with something far more terrifying. A cold, calculating, righteous fire. It is the look of a man who has seen true evil in the world and recognizes it instantly. He sees Richard not as a successful businessman, but as a maggot. In that single silent glance, a judgment is passed. A verdict is rendered. Grizz has spent his life being judged by men like Richard, by a society that fears his appearance. Now he is the judge, and the man in the suit has just been found guilty. The social contract has been broken, and Grizz is the enforcer. Richard feels the shift. His arrogant smile falters. He looks from Grizz to Sarah and back again. "What's the matter, sweetheart? Cat got your tongue?" He taunts, trying to regain control, but his voice is strained. He is visibly unnerved by the silent, fixed stare of the man in the corner. He did not account for Grizz. In his world, people like Grizz are invisible, part of the background, beneath his notice. This was a fatal miscalculation. He has poked a bear, assuming it was a statue. He has no idea of the storm he has just unleashed, not just from this one man, but from the entire brotherhood he represents. The act of kindness was not giving $1 or a blanket. It was an act of pure trust. Sarah, the innocent, looked past the leather, the tattoos, and the judgment of the world. She saw something in him that no one else did, a protector. She did not see a monster. She saw a shield. This profound act of faith, of seeing the honor beneath the intimidating exterior, strikes Grizz deeper than any bullet ever could. It awakens a dormant code, a sense of duty that runs deeper than blood. He is not just a biker. He is a veteran. He is a protector. And Sarah has just reminded him exactly who he is. He is about to show Richard. The escalation is immediate. Richard, feeling the weight of Grizz's stare, becomes visibly agitated. He is a man accustomed to control, and for the first time, he has lost it. His nervousness curdles into aggression. He decides to force the situation, to reassert his dominance before this silent giant in leather can interfere. He pushes himself out of his booth, his expensive suit crinkling, and takes a deliberate step toward the counter. His eyes locked on Sarah. He is a wolf shedding his camouflage, his predatory intent now naked and undisguised. He intends to corner her, to block her escape route to the kitchen or the phone. His confidence is buoyed by a lifetime of privilege, a deep-seated belief that his money and status make him untouchable. Grizz moves before Richard has taken a second step. He does not rush. He simply rises. He unfolds from the booth, a mountain of dark leather and denim, seeming to suck the very light from the room. The air crackles with a sudden heavy pressure, the way the sky feels just before a lightning strike. Richard actually stops, his bravado faltering for a beat. He is confronted by a physical reality that his corporate world has never prepared him for. Grizz says nothing. He just stands there, an impassive, immovable object, a wall of judgment between the predator and his prey. The sleeping truckers snore on, oblivious. It is in this agonizing, stretched-thin moment that Sarah's programming kicks in. She has been taught her entire life to trust the proper channels. Despite the note, despite her instincts, her terrified mind scrambles for the right solution. "Sir, please," she whispers, her voice trembling, directed at Grizz, not Richard. "Please don't. It's okay. I'll just call the police. I don't want any trouble." She's terrified that the biker's intervention will somehow make her the one at fault, the one who escalated the situation. She still believes, desperately, that the system is her only legitimate recourse. She is apologizing for being a victim. Grizz hears the plea, but he does not look at her. His cold, calculating eyes remain fixed on Richard. His voice is a low rumble, like gravel in a steel drum. "Honey, the police are the system," he states, not unkindly, but with a fatalistic certainty. And that system is exactly who he's counting on. He nods toward Richard. He knows how it works. You don't. This observation hangs in the air, a chilling, undeniable truth. It is the first time Sarah understands that the rules she lives by are not the same rules the powerful use. The system is not a shield for her. It is a weapon for him. Richard bursts into a short, barking laugh. laugh. The sound is ugly, dripping with condescension. He has regained his footing, believing he understands the dynamic. The old man's right, sweetheart. Go ahead, call them. He spreads his hands, a mockery of innocence. It's your word against mine. I'm a managing partner at a law firm in Chicago. Who do you honestly think they're going to believe? He sneers. The tired, confused little waitress who probably spiked her own drink. Or me. I'll be home before your shift even ends. He is not just guessing. He is stating a fact. He knows the script, and Sarah knows it too. The hope drains from her face, replaced by a cold, hollowing dread. She thinks of Sheriff Miller, the local law. He is not a bad man, but he is an overwhelmed one. A man who lives by the book. He said, she said, is not a crime. It is an annoyance. The glass would be taken for evidence. A report would be dutifully filed. Richard, with his expensive watch and articulate denials, would be questioned and released on his own recognizance. He would be across the state line and back in his high-rise office before the lab results, if they were ever even processed, came back. Then she thinks of her boss, Stan. He owns the diner. He's a man perpetually stressed about margins. If Sarah makes a scene, if police cars with flashing lights surround his establishment, she will be the problem. Stan prizes the customer who pays with a platinum corporate card, not the waitress he pays minimum wage. He would listen to Richard's smooth, practiced lies about her erratic behavior or flirtatious advances. She would be told she misunderstood, that she was being dramatic, or that she provoked him. She would be fired for disrupting the business, left with no job, no income, and no way to pay for her mother's medicine. The failure of her employment is a trap. The system is not designed to protect her. It is designed to protect the transaction. Her job demands her subservience, her silence, her willingness to absorb abuse in exchange for a paycheck. She is replaceable. His money is not. This realization is a form of suffocation. She is completely, utterly trapped. The law will not save her. Her livelihood depends on her silence. She has been checkmated by a system that was rigged against her from the moment she was born. Her poverty and her position make her a non-entity, a ghost in her own life. The sleeping truckers in the booth are the perfect, tragic metaphor for this systemic failure. They are the good citizens of the world, the bystanders. They are sound asleep, literally and figuratively, while a woman is being stalked and threatened just feet away. They are the people who would rather not get involved, the ones who would film the aftermath on their phones, but never step in. Sarah looks at them, their chests rising and falling in oblivious slumber, and a bone-deep chill seizes her. No one is coming. The safe institutions are not just failing her, they are completely, profoundly absent. This total vacuum of justice, this absolute confirmation of her despair, is what Richard was waiting for. He sees the fight go out of her. He sees her terrified, tear-filled eyes. He sees her look at the sleeping men and the silent phone. He mistakes her crushing realization for submission. He believes he has won. His arrogance inflates, and he decides Grizz is just a bluff, a relic who talks tough but knows his place. Look, enough of this, he snaps, dismissing the biker. You sit down. You're scaring her. His voice is sharp, an order from a man used to being obeyed. He then turns the full force of his predatory attention back to Sarah. His voice drops to a sickening, false gentleness, a verbal caress that is more violent than a shout. Come on, honey. You look stressed. Let's you and I go outside and get some fresh air. We'll talk this out. He does not wait for an answer. He moves with sickening speed, closing the distance. He reaches across the counter and grabs her wrist. It is not a suggestion. It is an abduction. His grip is not gentle. It is a hard, possessive, bruising vice. He is taking her. He's proving his power. This is the line. The uncrossable, undeniable line. The threat has just become a physical assault. Sarah cries out, a small, choked, terrified sound, a gasp of pure animal fear. She pulls back, but his grip is like a steel trap. The system has officially, catastrophically failed. It was too slow, too biased, too indifferent. Her plea to the proper channels was a fantasy. Her reliance on her employment was a cage. The social contract of the diner, of civilization itself, has been utterly broken by Richard's blatant act of physical aggression. He has just proven, in front of a witness, that he is above the rules. The sound of Sarah's cry and the sight of Richard's hand on her arm changes the very molecules in the room. The atmosphere shifts from cold judgment to the brink of a volcanic eruption. Grizz does not shout. He does not lunge. He does not need to. He moves with a silent, blurring speed that is utterly shocking for a man his size. 1 second second he is by his booth. The next he is at the counter, directly in front of Richard. But he does not strike the man. Not yet. He simply places his free hand, his left hand, flat on the countertop. It lands with the solid, definitive thud of a butcher's cleaver hitting a block. The sound is flat, final. Let her go. Grizz's voice is not a request. It is not a warning. It is a command that vibrates through the floorboards and up Richard's arm. It is the sound of absolute, unshakable authority. It is the voice of a man who has given orders in situations of life and death, and who has never been disobeyed when it mattered. Richard, startled by the speed and the sheer resonant power of that tone, his grip momentarily falters from shock, but his arrogance is a deep well. He tightens his hold on Sarah, pulling her closer. Or what? Richard spits, his face flushed with adrenaline and rage. You'll huff and puff, you overgrown ape. I told you, this is a private conversation. Butt out, old man. He is trying to re-establish his dominance, to frame the narrative. He is actively using the system's prejudice against Grizz. In his mind, the police would see this as a bar fight started by the scary biker against a respectable citizen. He is trying to provoke Grizz into an action that will prove his own narrative, to paint his protector as the aggressor. This moment is the living, breathing personification of the system's failure. The villain is so confident in his social standing that he can physically assault a woman in a public place, in front of a witness, believing his suit and his platinum card make him completely invulnerable. He believes the law is a tool for him to use against them. He believes Grizz's appearance makes him an unreliable witness by default, a thug whose word is worthless. He has weaponized the very prejudices of the society that is supposed to protect Sarah. He is the cancer in the heart of the system. Sarah is weeping openly now, silent tears of terror and absolute frustration streaming down her face. She is pulling against his grip, her small wrist turning red and white under the pressure, but he is far too strong. She looks at the phone, then at the sleeping truckers, then at Grizz. She has been ignored by the world, dismissed by the law, and failed by her employer. And the man who is assaulting her is sneering, utterly confident that he will face no consequences. This is the definition of total, abject despair. This is the moral vacuum. The safe world has proven to be a complete and utter illusion. This is the justification. This is the moral bedrock for what is about to happen. The narrative has now meticulously, painfully proven that every proper avenue is a dead end. The police are too slow and too biased. Her job is a trap. Society is asleep. The law protects the wolf, not the lamb. The system is not just broken. It is actively, willfully complicit. It is a tool for predators like Richard. This situation, this profound moral imbalance, demands a different kind of justice. It requires a force that operates entirely outside this failed system, a force that believes in a simpler, more absolute, and more righteous moral code. Grizz looks at Richard's white-knuckled hand on Sarah's arm. He looks at the tears on her face. He looks at the sneering, arrogant mask of the man in the suit. He does not bother to speak to him again. Instead, he reaches into his vest pocket and pulls out the ancient black flip phone he had used just moments before. He holds it up, not to his ear, but so Richard can see the glowing green screen. The call timer is still active. The line has been open this entire time. They heard it all, Grizz states flatly. They heard her cry. They heard you touch her. And they heard you threaten me. He snaps the phone shut. The sound is as loud as a chambered round in the silence. The system is coming, Grizz says, his eyes like chips of ice. Just not the one you're used to. Richard is frozen, his hand still clamped on Sarah's wrist, but his eyes are locked on the glowing green timer of Grizz's open flip phone. The silence in the diner is absolute, broken only by the rain and Richard's suddenly ragged breathing. They heard you touch her, Grizz repeats, his voice a flat, emotionless statement of fact. This is the moment the predator's brain finally processes his new reality. He is not in a boardroom. He is not negotiating. He has been caught in a trap he did not even know existed. His grip on Sarah loosens, his fingers going slack as the full, catastrophic weight of his miscalculation crashes down upon him. He lets her go. Sarah scrambles back, rubbing her bruised wrist, her sobs now quiet, choked sounds of shock. The immediate physical threat is over. Grizz does not move, does not lower the phone. He simply watches Richard. He is giving the man space to comprehend the totality of his defeat. Richard, the lawyer, the managing partner, is now frantically frantically running through legal scenarios. He knows what assault is. He knows what it means to be recorded, to have his threats captured. He has been outmaneuvered, not by a thug, but by a strategist. His entire world, built on the illusion of his own superiority, is crumbling. Now, Grizz says, his voice cutting through the tension. He nods towards Sarah. Call 911. Tell Sheriff Miller there is a man here who attempted to drug and assault a waitress. Tell him we have the evidence. He finally snaps the flip phone shut. The sound is a gavel falling, a judgment rendered. Sarah, her hands shaking so hard she can barely hold her own phone, nods and quickly moves to the wall-mounted telephone. Her voice is a thin, reedy whisper as she reports the crime, her eyes never leaving the two men. Richard, for his part, has slumped against the counter, his face a sickly pale gray. The next 20 minutes are the longest in Sarah's life. Grizz moves back to his booth, but he does not sit. He stands beside it, a silent guardian, arms crossed, watching. He has not laid a single hand on Richard, but he has utterly broken him. Richard does not run. He knows he cannot. He just sits on a vinyl stool, head in his hands, the picture of a man whose life has just ended. The two truckers in the back have finally stirred, awakened not by the confrontation, but by the profound, unnatural silence that followed it. They blink, confused at the scene. The weeping waitress, the defeated man in the suit, and the giant biker standing watch. The flashing lights, when they finally appear, are a relief and a new source of terror. A single mud-splattered county sheriff's cruiser pulls into the lot, its lights painting the diner interior in revolving strokes of red and blue. A man in his late 50s with a weary face and a prominent gut steps out. This is Sheriff Miller. He enters the diner, his hand resting warily on his holstered weapon. His eyes immediately dart to the most obvious problem. He sees Grizz, with his vest and tattoos, and his gaze hardens. This is the moment. This is the system's first test. All right, what in the hell is going on in here? The sheriff sighs, his voice thick with exhaustion. Before Sarah or Grizz can speak, Richard springs to life. Thank God, officer, he shouts, his voice a high-pitched, performative whine. This thug attacked me. He threatened my life. He's been harassing this poor girl all night. Arrest him. Richard points a trembling, accusatory finger at Grizz. He is playing his last card. The one he has played his entire life, the card of social prejudice. He is betting the sheriff will see what he wants him to see. Sheriff Miller's eyes narrow. He looks at Grizz, his hand tightening on his weapon. Son, I'm going to need you to put your hands up and step away. This is it. The system is failing. It is defaulting to its programming, seeing the leather as the threat and the suit as the victim. Sarah cries out, No, that's not what happened. He's lying. But the sheriff just holds up a hand to silence her, his attention focused on the man he perceives as the largest physical threat. He is about to arrest the wrong man. He is about to validate Richard's corrupt worldview. But Grizz does not get angry. He does not resist. He simply holds his hands up, open and empty, a gesture of absolute calm. Sheriff, before you do that, he says, his voice a low, respectful rumble. You might want to ask this gentleman why he's so afraid of that security camera. He nods his head upward, toward the small, dusty dome mounted above the cash register. And you might want to test the glass of water he was trying to make her drink. The one with the powder in it. It's right there on the counter. His voice is devoid of malice. It is filled with the simple, crushing weight of facts. The entire dynamic of the room shifts. In a single heartbeat, Richard's performative outrage collapses like a punctured lung. The sheriff, who may be tired but is not a fool, sees the sudden abject terror flash across Richard's face. His eyes follow Grizz's nod to the camera, then to the glass of water on the counter, where a faint, undissolved sediment is clearly visible. The sheriff looks from the glass to the camera, to Richard's pale, sweating face, and then to Sarah's tear-streaked, bruised wrist. The story snaps into perfect, horrifying focus. The sheriff's weariness vanishes, replaced by a cold, professional fury. He knows this kind of man, the predator who hides behind a tie. He holsters his weapon and unclips his handcuffs. Sir, I'm going to need you to stand up and place your hands behind your back. Richard's voice is a pathetic squeak. Now wait a minute. I am a lawyer. You can't. The sheriff cuts him off. You can tell me all about it in the car. You are under arrest for suspicion of aggravated assault. The click of the handcuffs is the most beautiful sound Sarah has ever heard. The system worked. It creaked, It groaned. It almost failed, but the truth forced into the light by Grizz had won. The sheriff leads the whimpering, defeated lawyer out of the diner. It is over. Justice has been served. But as the diner door swings shut, a new sound begins. It is not the rain. It is not the sheriff's radio. It is a low, distant vibration, a rumble that feels less like a sound and more like a change in air pressure. It is the sound of the earth itself growling in the pre-dawn darkness. The truckers, now wide awake and nursing fresh coffees, look at each other, then toward the window. What in tarnation is that? One of them mutters, squinting into the gloom. Sounds like a whole damn freight train. The sound grows exponentially. It is not one engine. It is dozens. The coffee cups on the tables begin to vibrate, the spoons rattling in their saucers. The windows of the diner are visibly shaking. It is a deep, mechanical, guttural roar that seems to come from the heart of the Ohio Valley, a sound of biblical rolling thunder. Then they see them, cresting the hill on the interstate exit ramp, a single blinding headlight. It is followed by another, and another, then a dozen, then 50. A river of high-intensity beams, cutting through the rain, a flood of light and noise. They are not just on the ramp, they are flooding it, a moving, metallic tide of chrome and steel. Sheriff, his hand on his car door, freezes, his jaw dropping open. Richard, sitting in the back of the cruiser, presses his face to the glass, his eyes widening in pure, animal terror. They pour into the parking lot. 10, 50, 100, then 200 motorcycles. They are a tidal wave of Harley-Davidsons, a sea of black leather and polished steel that completely, utterly surrounds the small diner and the lone police cruiser. They are an army. They move with practiced military precision, forming a perfect, dense perimeter. The roar of 200 engines, all screaming in unison, is deafening. It is a chorus of raw, untamed American power. And then, as one, the engines are cut. The silence that falls is heavier, more profound, and infinitely more terrifying than the noise was. It is a vacuum, a void filled only by the sound of the rain and Richard's hyperventilating sobs from inside the cruiser. 200 men, massive, clad in their club vests, sit on their machines. They are silent. They are statues. They are an army of ghosts, their faces hard and unreadable in the flashing red and blue lights of the cruiser. They are a jury, and they have all heard the evidence. Grizz steps out of the diner. He calmly wipes his hands on his jeans and walks toward the sheriff. He does not look at his brothers. Not yet. He nods once to Sheriff Miller, a gesture of mutual professional respect. The law has done its job. Now, the community was here to bear witness. The sheriff, understanding, nods back. He opens the cruiser door, pulls Richard out, and begins the slow walk toward the county jail's intake. He is walking his prisoner to the station. But the bikers dismount. As one, in perfect, terrifying unison, their boots hit the wet asphalt. They do not speak. They do not threaten. They do not move toward the prisoner or the officer. They simply form two perfect, silent, unbreachable lines. They create a corridor, a gauntlet, a wall of honor, stretching from the diner's entrance, past the police cruiser, and all the way down the slick, dark pavement of the exit ramp. This is the walk of shame. The sheriff looks at the corridor of giants. He looks at Richard, who is trembling so violently he can barely stand. This is a justice the law books could never describe. This is a moral statement. This is the community, in its rawest form, rising up to say, no more. The sheriff places a firm hand on Richard's shoulder and begins to walk him through the gauntlet. Richard is forced to meet the eyes of every single man. He sees their faces. He sees the contempt. He sees the cold, righteous fury. These are not just bikers. They are veterans. They are plumbers and mechanics and teachers. They are fathers. They are the men who have defended the very system he tried to manipulate. They are the silent majority, given a voice and a face. And their faces are a mirror, reflecting his own pathetic, cowardly, and broken image back at him. This is a humiliation, far worse than any prison sentence. The procession is slow. It is a funeral march for Richard's arrogance. He is forced, step by step, to walk the gauntlet of his judges. This is the payment of the title. This is the flood. At the peak of this overwhelming, silent, and terrifying display of communal justice, we have to ask, if you believe that true power should protect the vulnerable, not the predators, smash that like button right now. Your engagement is a signal, proof that the world is watching, and that we stand with the innocent against the corruption of the powerful. The bikers do not cheer when he is placed in the car. They do not move. They simply stand, a silent granite wall of protection, as the sheriff's cruiser, now containing the truly terrified prisoner, pulls away. But the justice is not over. As the cruiser heads toward the on-ramp, the bikers return to their machines. In a deafening roar, 200 engines spark back to life. They pull out, one by one, forming a massive, intimidating motorcade, an honor guard of chrome and steel, following the police car. They are the escort. They are the guarantee. They are making sure that justice, this time, does not get lost on the way to the station. The roar of the 200-engine motorcade fades into the distance, a departing thunderstorm. In the ensuing silence, the Crossroads Diner feels impossibly small, a fragile island in the wet, dark Ohio dawn. Sarah stands behind the counter, her hands pressed to her mouth, the adrenaline finally giving way to a bone-shaking exhaustion. The two truckers, now very much awake, stare into their empty coffee mugs, their faces pale with a mixture of awe and shame. Sheriff Miller, standing by the door, just sighs and slowly takes off his hat, wiping the rain from the brim. He looks at Sarah, his eyes filled with a new, profound respect. The world has tilted on its axis. The monsters in the stories, the big bad bikers, had just become the cavalry. They had not just enforced the law. They had delivered a far more potent, personal justice. The diner door chimes again, making Sarah jump. It is not a customer. It is Grizz, followed by 3 other men who radiate an authority that has nothing to do with a badge. The patches on their vests read President, Vice Prez, and SGT at arms. They are the club's command. They move with an economy of motion, their boots heavy on the linoleum. They do not look at the sheriff or the truckers. Their focus is singular. They stop at the counter, forming a wall of leather in front of Sarah. The president, a man with a graying beard and eyes that have seen decades of hard road, looks her over. "Are you harmed, sweetheart?" His voice is not unkind. It is a simple, direct, serious question. Before Sarah can answer, the Prez glances over his shoulder at the 2 truckers. His voice drops, not in volume, but in temperature. "You 2 slept well?" The question is a condemnation, and the men flinch as if struck. "Figured." The biker nods, turning back to Sarah. He sees her bruised wrist, the exhaustion in her eyes. This ain't a safe place for a kid to be working alone. He turns to the sheriff. "Is the boss on his way?" Sheriff Miller nods. "Stan should be here any minute. He wasn't happy about the call." Grizz scoffs, a low, bitter sound. "He's about to be a whole lot unhappier." This stops. Tonight, the bikers are not just solving the incident. They are solving the problem. Stan, the diner owner, bursts through the door 10 minutes later, his face red with fury. He opens his mouth, ready to unleash a tirade on Sarah for the police presence, for the drama. Then he sees them. He sees the 4 club officers standing at his counter. He sees the sheriff, who is not supporting him, but just watching. Stan's anger evaporates, replaced by a cold, greasy sweat. What is this? What's going on? The club president steps forward, his shadow falling over the smaller man. "This is a change in management," the biker says calmly. "We were just admiring your A rating from the health department. It'd be a shame if things started breaking." Stan turns pale. This is a threat he understands. "But we don't want that," the president continues, his voice suddenly reasonable. "We like this place. In fact, we like it so much, we're going to be your new regulars. You can consider this diner under new protection." "Our protection." He smiles, but it does not reach his eyes. "And Sarah here," he gently taps the counter. "She's family. You're going to give her a raise. You're going to hire a security guard for the night shift. And you're never, ever going to leave her alone here again, because if you do, we'll know." We have chapters everywhere. Stan, trapped between financial ruin and a biker club, nods frantically. Yes, of course, anything. The system that had failed Sarah was just rewritten in front of her. But the bikers are not finished. Grizz looks at Sarah, at her worn-out shoes, at the thinness of her frame. He understands the trap of poverty that made her so vulnerable in the first place. He sees the medical bills she tried to hide under the counter. He unhooks the heavy black helmet from his belt and sets it on the counter with a solid thud. He pulls a wadded-up $50 bill from his own pocket and drops it in. The president and the other two officers do the same, adding thick wads of cash. Grizz then walks the helmet outside to the 200 men still, waiting patiently on their bikes, their engines idling in the damp morning air. They had heard the story. They knew the stakes. He returns a few minutes later. The helmet is no longer light. He places it in front of Sarah. It is overflowing with cash. Tens, 20s, 50s, hundreds. It is a sea of green, the collective gratitude of an army. It is thousands of dollars. More money than Sarah has seen in her entire life. Enough to pay the hospital. Enough to quit this job. Enough to be safe. Knees buckle, and she grabs the counter, tears of disbelief streaming down her face. I can't accept this. Grizz gently pushes the helmet toward her. This ain't a handout, kid. It's a payment. You trusted me when the whole world told you not to. You saw a man, not a monster. That kind of honor is priceless. We're just settling the tab. The president steps forward one last time. He takes a small folded piece of black leather from his vest pocket. He unfolds it. It is a child-sized, miniature cut, a tiny blank leather vest. With it is a single new patch. It is the club's colors, their center patch, but it says, "Property of the Forgotten Sons." Hands off. He hands it to her. "You're one of us now," he says, his voice thick with emotion. "You're not just protected by us. You are us. This is your family now. You are never, ever alone again. You understand me? If you ever need anything, you show that patch to any man wearing our colors, and they will move heaven and earth for you." Sarah can only nod, clutching the small vest to her chest as if it is a holy relic. It is a symbol of her salvation. Sheriff Miller, watching this entire exchange, clears his throat. He walks over and places a crisp $100 bill on the counter, adding it to the helmet. "The county appreciates citizens who look out for each other," he says, tipping his hat to Grizz. The two truckers, humbled and deeply ashamed, walk over. They empty their wallets into the helmet. "We're sorry, miss," one of them mutters. We should have been awake." Sarah looks at them, and for the first time she sees not failure, but just men. She nods, accepting the apology. The prejudice of the entire diner has been shattered. The sun is now a thin gray line on the horizon. The storm has passed, washed the air clean. The work is done. The bikers file out of the diner, their mission complete. They mount their machines. But this time, the sound is different. It is not a threat. It is not a roar of intimidation. It is a promise. It is the sound of 200 engines starting, a chorus of protection, a rolling fortress of steel. They pull out of the parking lot, one by one, a departing river of chrome, leaving Sarah standing in the doorway, clutching a helmet full of freedom and a vest full of family. She is no longer the tired waitress. She is the woman who commanded an army. We are taught to fear the shadows. We are taught to judge the book by its leather cover. We are told to put our faith in the clean-cut suit, the expensive car, the symbols of systemic success. But as we saw tonight, a suit can hide a monster, and the shadows can hide a guardian. True honor is not measured in a stock portfolio or a fancy title. It is measured by a code. It is measured by the willingness to show up in the middle of a rainstorm at 2 in the morning, not for money, not for glory, but because a single innocent person was in trouble and dared to ask for help. Courage, it turns out, is not the absence of fear. Courage is being so terrified you can barely breathe and still finding the strength to trust. Sarah's small, desperate act of faith in the wrong person saved her life and gave her a new one. She bet on the monster in the corner, and she was rewarded with an army of angels. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that heroes are real. They do not always wear capes. Sometimes they wear leather, and they ride for the forgotten souls the rest of the world has left behind.